So with trust, let's talk about this. So trust is interesting because over the course of your career, you're probably going to experience some very high trust environments. Sadly, over time, you're going to be in some low trust environments. It is what it is. And maybe you're going to have a very unique situation. And this is what I want to talk to you about, that it starts low on trust, but they have a transformation and it becomes high. So when I was at the Niners, these two guys came into the organization. To this day, this is the general manager and the head coach, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan. The NFL has these league-wide surveys that they measure different people elements and culture elements, and trust is one of those things. So the Niners, sucks to say this, but we were in the lower quartile of trust before these guys got there. And in a single year, we went from bottom quartile to top quartile because they led a trust transformation with intention, both in the locker room and on the business side. They had an influence there. They rebuilt our culture brick by brick. So what they did, they brought in an organizational development consultant. And this consultant, just by show of hands, has anybody ever been through a start, stop, continue exercise? Yeah, I see some head nods. Cool. So we're trying to do positive change and we do start, stop, continue. I used to do start, stop, continue. This has been my new favorite. So again, take it or leave it. But I just feel like this process is just an amazing thing if you want to level up and have positive change inside of your team, even self. So it's centered around more, better, and different. And with this more, better, different, it can be an I or a we. What can I do more of? What can I do better? What can I do different? If it's a we, what can we do more of? What can we do better? What can we do different? And the way that you source these answers, this consultant did listening sessions. So who said listen for trust the most? Yes. Whether I asked the great leadership question or the trust question, I swear to you about 90% of the time, listening is in the top 5 for both. It's so rarely practiced and it's so sought after. Think about that. It's rarely practiced, but it's sought after. So it makes it very high on the list. Okay. Listening sessions. As this consultant's asking, what can we do better? What can we do different? He started to hear this trust gap. I don't trust my boss. I don't trust the team. So he says, okay, but I don't know what to do about trust. I don't have a wand to fix trust. Give me an example. Give me an example. Give me an example. Why don't you trust? And the number one example that came up was from this place, the Players Cafeteria. And this, folks, I know you're coming off lunch here and some awards and stuff. This is the infamous story of the to-go box. You are not going to forget the to-go box story. So grab some popcorn and buckle up. The to-go box story. This is fire. This is awesome. Okay, let me take you inside of the Niners. The way that the cafeteria would work. We would walk in and we would scan our badge and they would take $5 out of our next paycheck. And if you have time, you sit down, you break bread. It's amazing. There's players, there's coaches, there's your business peers. It's awesome. But sometimes you're hustling from meeting to meeting. So you would grab a to-go box and then off you go to the next meeting. Well, just like any other organization, once you grow large enough, you're bound to have a few bad apples. So what these apples would do, they would go into the cafeteria, they would sit down, they'd hang out, they'd break bread. So far, so good. But then they would grab a to-go box or 2 boxes or 3 boxes. They'd pack them up to the gills and they would take home that night's dinner. Not the intention of the boxes. So the head of security sees this on a security camera and he says, they're stealing food. What do you think the head of security did? Gone are the to-go boxes. So now let me take you back inside the listening sessions and I'm going to clean up the language just a little bit, but know that people were pretty ticked off because they said, you want an example? You want to know why I don't trust? Because they took away the to-go boxes. I am getting work down to the bone here, like my blood, my sweat, my tears. I've got a 9 a.m., a 10 a.m., an 11 a.m., a 12 p.m., a 1 p.m., a 2 p.m. meeting, all in service of the company. And I used to go into the cafeteria. I'd grab my to-go box and fuel up for the afternoon. And now that they took the boxes away, do you know how many afternoons I'm running on empty? Whew. That poor consultant. I'm happy to report he's still alive. They did not kill the messenger. And he bubbles all this intel up into key themes, key takeaways. I do these reports all the time. It's called an organizational health assessment. And he's handing it to the president. He's handing it to Guido. So he says, hey, Al, here's your report. I was in the office at the time. He says, here's your report. Al, I'm just curious. Why'd you take away the to-go boxes? And Al looked at him and said, what the hell are you talking about? He had no idea. But now he's aware. So next all hands meeting, it's 3 weeks later. He steps behind a podium and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, to-go boxes are coming back." Same all hands meeting. Hour later, me and Al are grabbing a drink at the bar, and he leans over and says, "Dude, I don't know if I've ever heard a louder standing ovation than that." Folks, this is an NFL team president. And it was a to-go box. But it happened, and it's real. And to be in the room, it was like magic. Because I hope we're connecting the dots by now. That it was so much bigger than a box. So much bigger. People spoke truth to power. They felt listened to. They were able to positively influence the environment that we asked them to dedicate themselves to. It was so much bigger than a box. And here is my message to you. Inside of Full Steam, inside of every business unit, inside of every client relationship, there are countless to-go boxes waiting to be found. I promise you. I promise you. The question is, are we ready and willing to go find them? Because if we are, then a listening session can be an accelerator of how we win the game of trust. You want trust to be a competitive edge and advantage. Listening is a gateway. Listening is the accelerator. So yes, at the Niners, this was a feel-good culture story, no doubt. We're all familiar with those best workplace lists, right? Best workplaces in this market, this industry, this sector. We've all experienced them. Well, the Niners were never on those lists until we found our lunch boxes. And they haven't been off the list ever since. From never being on the list and never being off the list ever since. Now, all right, let's put our sales hats on. This isn't just a culture story. I was chief sales officer at the time, and I thought, well, I see the magic. What if we take the show on the road? What if we do listening sessions out in the market with our season ticket holders, with our corporate partners? What if you were to do it with your top clients? And we did it. What do we need to do more of? What do we need to do better? What do we need to do different? And it had the same type of transformation out in the marketplace as it did with our culture on the inside. Because the common thread is this: when people feel big, they play big. When people feel big, they play big. In the market, playing big looks like commitment and loyalty. Inside, it's the exact same, but with one another. You want to be around engaged folks that lean in, they're partners, they're responsible, they're accountable, they own it. That's what we do. And we could take the show on the road and do this with our clients as well. So I actually want to give you the process. I want to give you the keys. If you wanted my help with this process, I'd be more than happy to have a chat about it, but I want to give you the step-by-step. How do you find the lunch boxes through this listening session process? And I want to hook you up. But here's my ask of you: to apply this on Monday morning, in the spirit of show me your calendar, I'll show you your priorities. Just put 10 minutes on the calendar just to commit to reading through it. And then give yourself some grace, give yourself some time. Let's not reinvent the wheel overnight. Give yourself Q1 to do your first listening session. In the first 90 days of the year, speaking of fast start, let's not wait. But in February or March, can we put a date on the calendar after reading this and say, I'm going to do my listening session here? Maybe it's a one-to-one with a client. Maybe it's an internal team thing. I don't know. You do you, but this process will be the same.